Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Kodey podcast, where we dive deep into the world of data, analytics, and all things related to using numbers to drive business value. I'm Kieran, your host, and today we're tackling a topic that is crucial to anyone working in data science: return on investment. Specifically, we're going to explore how to estimate, sell, prove, and maximize the ROI of data science projects. When it comes to data science, there's a lot of buzz around the potential to transform businesses, revolutionize decision making, and unlock new opportunities. But how do we, as data professionals, quantify this potential in terms of ROI? How do we convince stakeholders to invest in our projects? And once we've got their buy-in, how do we prove that the investment was worth it? Finally, and perhaps most importantly, how do we ensure that we're getting the maximum possible return on our data science investments? That's what we're going to dive into today. Our first topic of discussion is estimating ROI in data science projects. Let's get into it. When it comes to estimating the return on investment of a data science project, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Data science is inherently complex, and the value it provides can be both direct and indirect, tangible and intangible. But that doesn't mean we can't make educated estimates. First, let's talk about the direct financial benefits. These are usually the easiest to quantify, especially if your project is designed to cut costs or drive revenue. For example, let's say you're developing a predictive model to reduce customer churn. You can start by estimating the current churn rate, the revenue associated with retained customers, and the potential reduction in churn thanks to your model. By combining these factors, you can get a rough estimate of the revenue your project might generate or preserve. Now, where it gets tricky is when the benefits are less tangible. Imagine you're working on a project that aims to improve customer satisfaction through personalized recommendations. The return on investment here isn't just about immediate sales increases, it's also about long-term customer loyalty, brand reputation, and even the potential for future upselling. These are harder to quantify, but you can use proxies like customer lifetime value or net promoter score to make your case. On the cost side, we need to consider both the obvious and the hidden expenses. The obvious costs include things like data infrastructure, software licenses, and the salaries of the data scientists involved. But don't forget about the hidden costs, things like the time spent on data wrangling, the opportunity cost of not pursuing other projects, or even the potential costs associated with data privacy or security issues. When estimating return on investment, it's essential to account for both direct and indirect costs to get a more accurate picture. Of course, there's also the time factor. Return on investment isn't just about how much value you can generate, it's also about how quickly you can deliver that value. In some cases, a quick win with a moderate return on investment might be more valuable to the business than a long-term project with a potentially higher return on investment. This is why timelines and project scope need to be part of your return on investment estimation process. It's about balancing the quick wins with the longer-term strategic initiatives. When estimating return on investment, we should also consider the broader impact on the business. A successful data science project can lead to better decision making, more efficient processes, and even a culture shift towards being more data driven. These are indirect benefits that might not be immediately quantifiable, but can have a significant long-term impact on the business's bottom line. All right, that was a whirlwind section on estimating return on investment. Our next section is around selling the concept to the business. So you've done your homework and you've got a solid estimate of your project's return on investment. The next step is selling that concept to the business. Now, this is where many data scientists struggle, not because they don't believe in the value of their work, but because they may not be accustomed to speaking the language of business. To start, it's essential to understand your audience. Who are the key stakeholders and what are their priorities? Are they more concerned with cutting costs, increasing revenue, or gaining a competitive edge? Tailoring your pitch to align with their goals is crucial. For instance, if you're talking to a CFO, focus on the financial metrics, cost savings, revenue increases, and the like. If you're pitching to a CEO, you might want to emphasize how the project aligns with the company's strategic vision or its potential to drive innovation. One of the most effective ways to sell a data science project is by telling a story. People are naturally drawn to narratives, especially when they can see themselves in them. So, frame your project as a story. Here's the problem we're facing. Here's how we're going to solve it. And here's what success looks like. Use real world examples or case studies from within your industry to make your story more compelling. If you can show that similar projects have led to significant return on investment for other companies, you're more likely to get buy-in. Visual aids can also be incredibly powerful. A well-designed slide deck that walks stakeholders through your return on investment estimation, complete with charts, graphs, and clear visuals, can make a big difference. People are often visual learners, and seeing the potential impact in a graphical format can make your pitch more persuasive. It's also important to be transparent about the risks and challenges. No project is without its hurdles, and stakeholders will appreciate your honesty if you acknowledge potential pitfalls up front. The key is to balance this with a plan for how you'll mitigate those risks. For example, if data quality is a concern, talk about how you plan to address it. If the project requires a significant upfront investment, discuss how you'll ensure quick wins along the way to demonstrate progress. Another strategy is to pilot your idea. If stakeholders are hesitant to commit to a full-scale project, suggest starting with a smaller, low-risk pilot. This can help demonstrate the value of your approach on a smaller scale before scaling up. A successful pilot can build momentum and make it easier to secure full funding and support for the broader project. Finally, don't underestimate the power of relationships. Building trust with your stakeholders is crucial. If they trust you and believe that you have the company's best interests at heart, they're more likely to support your project. This means keeping lines of communication open, being responsive to their concerns, and showing that you're committed to delivering value. So at this point, we have estimated our return on investment and sold the concept to the business. Our next section is all about proving the return on investment of the project. Now that you've sold the concept and gotten the green light, it's time to prove the return on investment of your data science project. This is where the rubber meets the road. The first step in proving return on investment is setting up the right metrics and benchmarks from the start. What does success look like for this project? How will you measure it? These are questions you need to answer before you even begin the project. The metrics should be aligned with the business goals you identified during the selling phase. For instance, if the goal is to reduce customer churn, your key metric might be the churn rate pre and post implementation of your model. It's also essential to establish a baseline. Before your project goes live, make sure you have a clear understanding of the current state of the business. This means collecting data on the relevant metrics so that you can compare them to the results after your project has been implemented. Without a baseline, it's much harder to prove that your project made a difference. Once your project is underway, tracking progress is key. This doesn't just mean waiting until the end to measure success. It means monitoring key metrics throughout the project's lifecycle. This allows you to make adjustments as needed and ensures that you're on track to deliver the expected return on investment. For example, if you're working on a model to improve sales forecasting, you might track its accuracy on a weekly basis and make tweaks to the model if it's not performing as expected. A/B testing is another powerful tool for proving return on investment. By comparing a group that's impacted by your project with a control group that isn't, you can more clearly demonstrate the effect your work is having. This is especially useful in cases where the impact might be more subtle or where external factors could influence the outcome. One of the challenges in proving return on investment is accounting for external factors that might influence the results. For example, if your project was designed to increase sales, but a competitor launched a major promotion during your project's rollout, it might skew your results. In these cases, it's important to acknowledge these factors and, if possible, adjust your analysis to account for them. This might mean using statistical techniques to isolate the impact of your project or simply being transparent about the limitations of your findings. Communication is key when it comes to proving return on investment. It's not enough to just have the numbers. You need to communicate them effectively to your stakeholders. This means crafting a clear and concise report that highlights the key metrics, explains how they were measured, and what they mean in the context of the business. Use visual aids like graphs and charts to make your data more accessible and be prepared to walk stakeholders through your analysis. One approach that can be particularly effective is storytelling with data. Rather than just presenting a dry set of numbers, frame your results in the context of the original problem you set out to solve, remind stakeholders of the challenge, walk them through the solution you implemented, and then present the results as the final chapter in that story. This helps to reinforce the narrative you use to sell the project in the first place and makes the return on investment more tangible. It's also important to be transparent about the results, even if they're not as strong as you had hoped. If the return on investment isn't as high as you anticipated, be honest about it. Explain the factors that contributed to the lower than expected results and discuss what you learned from the experience. This shows that you're committed to continuous improvement and that you're not afraid to face challenges head on. Finally, let's talk about how we can maximize the return on investment of data science projects. After all, it's not just about proving that a project delivered value, it's about squeezing every last drop of value out of it. One of the most effective ways to maximize return on investment is by focusing on scalability. If you can take a successful project and scale it across other parts of the business, you can dramatically increase its impact. For example, if you've developed a model that optimizes pricing in one region, think about how you can adapt it for other regions or even other product lines. Scalability should be a consideration from the outset, with your project designed in a way that allows it to be easily replicated or expanded. Another strategy is to look for ways to automate and streamline processes. Many data science projects involve manual steps that could be automated, freeing up time and resources to focus on higher value activities. For example, if you've developed a process for cleaning and preparing data, think about how you can automate that process so that it can be reused across multiple projects. Automation not only increases efficiency, but also reduces the risk of human error, which can further enhance return on investment. Collaboration is another key factor in maximizing return on investment. Data science should never operate in a silo. By collaborating with other departments like marketing, sales, or operations, you can ensure that your projects are aligned with broader business goals and that the insights you generate are being used to their fullest potential. Cross-functional teams can help identify new opportunities for applying data science, and they can also provide valuable feedback that can improve your models and analyses. Continuous improvement is also crucial for maximizing return on investment. Just because a project is delivering value doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement. Regularly reviewing your projects and looking for ways to enhance them can lead to incremental gains that add up over time. This might involve tweaking your models to improve accuracy, refining your processes to reduce costs, or even expanding the scope of the project to capture additional value. Don't forget about the importance of training and upskilling your team. The better equipped your team is with the latest tools, techniques, and methodologies, the more effectively they can deliver value. Investing in ongoing education and professional development can pay off in the form of more innovative projects and higher quality work, which in turn can lead to higher return on investment. Finally, it's worth considering the long-term impact of your projects. Some data science projects might deliver quick wins, but others might have a more significant impact over time. For example, a project that improves customer satisfaction might not have an immediate financial impact, but over time, it could lead to increased customer loyalty and higher lifetime value. When thinking about return on investment, don't just focus on the short term, consider the long-term benefits as well. And there you have it, folks, a comprehensive look at how to estimate, sell, prove, and maximize the return on investment of data science projects. It's clear that data science has the potential to drive significant value for businesses, but realizing that potential requires careful planning, effective communication, and a relentless focus on delivering results. If there's one key takeaway from today's episode, it's this: return on investment isn't just a number, it's a story. A story about how data science can transform businesses, solve real world problems, and drive meaningful change. And as data scientists, it's our job to tell that story in a way that resonates with the business, proves the value of our work, and ensures that we're getting the maximum return on our investments. Thank you for tuning in to the Kodey podcast. I hope you found today's discussion insightful and that it helps you in your own data science journey. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with data.